Welcome to an uplifting dialogue, stories about how the arts powerfully transform life with Susan Brender. This is V for Vitality.
This show has been made possible by the support of Plantronics, an endpoint company celebrating 50 years of innovation. I'm Susan Brender, and this is V for Vitality. Quite often, we lose our vitality, our mental capacity, and sometimes our libido as we age. It's no wonder that people dream about, write about, seek, and try to make items that stop aging or reverse aging. The question is there something out there? Our guest today is Suzanne Summers. Her latest book is Bombshell, Explosive Medical Secrets That Will Redefine Aging. Hi, Suzanne, and welcome to V for Vitality.
Hi, Susan. How are you? Nice to talk to you again.
Thank you. You know, you're 65 years old, which is just almost impossible for me to believe because I look at myself in the mirror, and I got to tell you, it's not looking that great. But that's another story. We're going to talk about that later. You feel great, you say. You're healthy. You're full of energy. Have perfect memory, and that's an interesting thing. And wow, a sex drive. So it sounds like you found the fountain of youth.
Well, you know, on my 65th birthday this year, I laughed because when I was a kid, 65 was ancient, and they either retired or died, and I thought, I am nowhere near either of those scenarios. I then stood back and looked at myself, and I thought, obviously, what I've been doing works. I decided, and it's only been in the last 15 years, to take my health seriously. I didn't before that. I'm sure that's why I got cancer. I didn't think about what I ate. I didn't think about the chemicals I was being exposed to. I didn't value sleep. I didn't manage stress. I was kind of crazed as you are in your 40s and 50s. And I realized that we are in control of how we age, and we are in control of our health. It's not some ninja warrior out there. So if you understand that the planet has changed, it is not the planet of your grandparents. That when you connect the dots with cancer being the biggest killer in the world today, volleying back and forth between heart disease, we got to do something differently. So I ask my readers to look at the present paradigm of aging, your grandparents, your parents, your aunts, uncles, friends. It's decrepit, it's frail, it's all pilled up. Usually one of the big three, Alzheimer's, cancer, heart disease. I usually end up in a nursing home. What a tragic way to end a life. And I ask you to look at that, good and hard. Is that what you want? If it isn't what you want, what are you doing differently so that doesn't happen?
Well, that's a very, very important point that people often think about what can they do that is going to make them feel better. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who are suffering. So we kind of have to think about the difference between somebody who's looking for prevention and somebody who is really ultimately suffering because they have some genetic issues that are going on, or perhaps they just don't know what to do. So I see that now all of a sudden in your book, you've interviewed Dr. Jonathan Wright, and you're talking about cell therapy, for example. What relevance does that have to somebody who is saying, what can I learn from that?
Well, aging is about worn-out parts. And you liken the body to a car. If you had a Maserati, you'd never put inferior fuel into your Maserati because you would value this fine machine so much. And you would never allow that Maserati to completely break down before you started taking it to the mechanic to try to fix it. It'd be climbing uphill. You would, along the way, be tweaking and fixing. Every little noise that you heard, you would respond to. Every time you put fuel in, you'd always say, no, I want the best. I want the high octane. I want the one, with the most power in it. So why don't we choose that for ourselves and our health? The body has a language. The body, when organs and glands are starting to wear out, there are responses you have. Your gut's not working so well. You have to learn what the symptoms of low thyroid are. Low thyroid is the key player in the hormonal orchestra. If the thyroid's not working right, the whole symphony is not in tune. And so it starts this cascade of breakdowns. So simple things like, are you missing the outer third of your eyebrows? Is your upper eyebrow thick? Is your musculature starting to slope? Do you have belly fat? Do you have, the love handles? All those things. Are you sensitive to hot and cold? Do your joints hurt? All these things are related to low thyroid, and they say half of the adult population has low thyroid and doesn't know it. And most doctors are not versed in any particular specialty of hormones, so they don't know that when you check the thyroid, you also check the T3, which is the active component, and that it's not necessarily even what the lab report says. It's looking at the patient. I can look at people on television, and I know who's hyper or hypothyroid. That's what doctors are taught to assess in the first 5 minutes of talking to someone. That's what they're doing. They're looking for the different signs in your body. So you can learn that too, and that's part of what I have my doctors teach in my books. If you want to know why you age, it's in Bombshell. There are conditions that happen: inflammation, glycation, oxygenation, methylation. I explain what those are, and it's a little tedious to learn that. But then when the doctors are talking later on, you'll know what they're talking about when they're talking about inflammation. Everybody's focused on cholesterol, and what the anti-aging world is focused on is your inflammation levels. That there's a test called a highly sensitive CRP test, C-reactive protein, and that will determine what your inflammation levels are, and then there are additional tests that will determine exactly where the inflammation is, so you can treat the symptom rather than wiping out all cholesterol in a body, which is essential for body functioning. You can't replicate brain cells without cholesterol. A man can't make testosterone without cholesterol. Plus, it depletes the body of CoQ10, and every cell in the body is CoQ10 dependent. So there's a lot of information on how to reverse the path you're on so that you don't have to end up sick, how to question your doctor, how to ask your doctor when he's just going to write you a prescription, why do I need that? What does that do? Is there a natural alternative? What are the side effects? What are the long-term effects? We don't do that, and that's how our seniors are ending up in such bad shape they cannot think.
Wait a minute, Suzanne. Let me stop you here, because what I'm hearing from you is that there are two very important things for us to think about. We think about aging, we care about ourselves when we look in the mirror, but do we really value our body? And if we value our body, are we willing to take the time? I think that's what you're saying.
Yes.
Are we willing to take the time to really explore the ways in which we can get help? Because it's not as simple as ABC. You just don't call a doctor. They're not doing the trick. Somehow or another, they're not giving us the information for us to explore further when we have pain, when we have obesity going on, and we're looking at our bodies and saying, oh, yeah, there are all those handles, and there is that little belly fat there. And they're just saying, okay, get it, stop eating what you're eating right now, cut out your carbs, do this, do that, but they're not really giving us a chance to understand deeply. So you say that it's about valuing and about understanding deeply.
And taking charge of your health. It's not up to, no doctor is going to care as much about your health as you. Nobody is. Nobody in the world is going to care as much about your health as you. So if you desire a long life with quality and health, it is up to you. But how do you know what to do if you're not educated? And that's where my books come in. These doctors I hold in such high esteem. They've taken such attacks because they dared to step outside of the standard of care box. For instance, in Bombshell, there's a doctor in there out of Harvard. I was at a dinner party a couple of years ago and was seated next to him, and we had a very nice conversation, and I stayed in touch with him. And he called me earlier this year, and he said, I got something I think you'll find really interesting. He said it's long been known that we consider that testosterone, high testosterone, is why men get prostate cancer.
Yeah.
He said, I just completed a small but very important study. Now, this guy's on the faculty of Harvard, a urologist, that when I give men with active prostate cancer, doesn't matter what stage, who have not been treated with Lupron or chemo or radiation, I give them testosterone and their cancer regresses. He said, for 2 years, there's not been one recurrence. There hasn't been one incidence of an elevated PSA for the men on testosterone, he said, and they also get to feel great. Their muscles come back, their energy comes back, their libido comes back, their everything about them is feeling better. They have more energy. He said, I have one 80-year-old patient who's out playing tennis. He's having the time of his life. So that's a game changer. And I said, this sure goes against what everybody's been saying. He said, well, that is the notion that high testosterone gives men cancer was based on one flawed study. He said, I went to the bowels of the library of Harvard, and I found the original literature that this was established in 1941 by Dr. Charles Huggins, who won the Nobel Prize for determining that high testosterone causes prostate cancer, and if you castrate a man, the cancer regresses. And that's been the treatment ever since. No one's ever questioned it. And the study was done, it turned out to be one man, and the test they used on him was an erratic test, so that wasn't even accurate. And all these men, all these years, have had their prostates removed. They've been castrated. They've been put on these harsh drugs. They have been feminized, and they go into menopause, essentially, when you ablate their body's ability to make any more hormones. When the answer is so simple, and I had heard this before in Europe, but it's so unpopular in the United States. I think the fact that Dr. Abraham Morgentaler on the faculty of Harvard is saying this is going to be a total game changer.
If that's the case, there's something awry here, because what do you attribute to the fact that this information is being held from the public? There's something wrong here, and I want to get to the bottom of this with you, because you obviously have spoken to these docs, to these very famous people. They know some of the antidotes for keeping your body healthy, and yet the public is not getting the proper information. What's wrong? Where is this picture that we're getting, and it's wrong?
Well, with all due respect, there's a lot of money to be made on prostate cancer. There's surgery, there's expensive drugs. The Lupron drug that men take is $3,000 a shot. It's what's driving costs of our health care through the roof, when no one is looking at the simple remedy. When a prostate is operating at optimum, it's nice and small. Everybody knows that. That's because it's getting its major building block, which is testosterone, which makes food for the sperm in the ducts of the prostate. When the man starts declining in testosterone, the prostate enlarges looking for its essential building block, and what Dr. Morgentaler found is when you give it back what it's looking for, it goes back to being nice and small again. So there is business at work in the cancer arena. You know, I took a lot of flack last year for writing the book about doctors are curing cancer without drugs.
Yes.
And that's because it's a $200 billion a year business. And I don't want to say they don't want to find the cure to cancer, but I have my doubts that they really do want to find the cure to cancer, because it's an awfully big business. Yeah. So that's why I'm just trying to empower us. I'm us. Mm-hmm. With the knowledge so that we can make the right decisions for ourselves, so we don't end up with this terrible template of aging that we're looking at that we don't even want to look at because it's so dreadful, hoping it'll never happen to us. But you got to start now making the choices that are life changers. Every single interview with every doctor in this book blew my mind, starting with Ray Kurzweil out of MIT and the work they're doing there, that in 15 years there's going to be something called nanobots, little blood cell-sized robots that will be injected into us to roam through our bodies like little detectives, to vaporize arterial plaque. If the islet cells are turned on for diabetes, they turn them off. If the cancer-protective genetic switches are turned off, you turn them back on. So the big diseases that are killing us will not be an issue in 15 years. And I said to Ray, what's the catch? Yeah. He said, you can't limp into it. You've got to get there healthy. So there's a big incentive now for making good food choices. I tell women, do without the shoes. Buy quality food. Put good fuel into your Maserati. And listen to your Maserati when it's got ticks and dings and aches and pains. That's a language. For menopause, I call it the 7 dwarves of menopause. Itchy, bitchy, sleepy, sweaty, bloated, forgetful, and all dried up. But each one of those symptoms is a language. It's your body talking or screaming, depending. I'm needing something. I had it before. I don't have it now, and I'm needing something. Body's talking all the time. We just don't listen to it. I never went into this to be beautiful. I didn't. I never went into this so that I would look a certain way. I went into this because I got cancer, and I decided that I was going to change my life and never get cancer again. What did I need to do? And I realized it all starts from within, how healthy you keep your inside. It happens to manifest on the outside, less wrinkling, fuller hair, better eyesight, better hearing, sex drive, energy, strong bones. You know, at 65, I can do a handstand in yoga because my bones are so strong. I don't take a single pharmaceutical drug, and maybe that's the problem with my message. I don't take a single pharmaceutical drug. But I'm not anti-pharmaceutical. When you need them, and I am a big supporter when you have pain, infection, mental illness, that's what they're for. But if there's a natural solution, why would you take a synthetic version when there's something natural available? And that's what's in this book. It will tell you what all those natural solutions are.
Suzanne, tell me one thing before we finish this interview, and that is, okay, so here I am, and I'm doesn't matter what age I am, actually, and I say I care about myself enough. I'm aware of the fact that I'm looking around me and I'm seeing all kinds of obese people. I'm aware of the fact that cancer seems to be prevalent, and I just don't want to go there. I'm aware that my family has a history, and I need to pay attention to this. Give me some real steps that our audience can take away that you would start from scratch. You did it already. You got cancer. You turned your life around, and great things are happening to you. But I want to talk to the person out there who's not really thinking that much about themselves because they think they can live forever and not age, and say to them what?
Well, the first thing I would say is find a qualified doctor. If you go to the doctor you've always been going to, he's not going to know or she's not going to know what you're talking about. So there's a website called foreverhealth.com. They're all vetted. These are all Western-trained doctors who have chosen to specialize in natural hormone replacement and anti-aging medicine. So they will know what all this stuff is that I'm talking about is. So foreverhealth.com is the website. The choices that you make, you have to understand that food is the fuel, so eat real food. If you can pick it, pluck it, milk it, or shoot it, that's what you eat. Value sleep, but you can't get sleep unless your hormones are balanced. So check into having a blood test. There's a blood test you can take that will determine your exact deficiencies and replace. Hormones are about, natural hormones, around $65 a month, which I know for some people is a tough nut to swallow, but our government doesn't pay for it, and it's better to do without something and get those hormones so you can have quality of life. They're extremely protective. The body recognizes a reproductive person as a valuable person because biology is about perpetuation of the species. So when you replace hormones in optimal, healthy levels, which signals to the brain that you're reproductive, even though you no longer are, the diseases of aging do not rear their ugly heads. So you stay healthier on bioidentical hormones. And that way, you only have to resort to pharmaceutical drugs when absolutely necessary. And then clean out your house. I remember when it happened to us. When my mother used to make a little paste of ivory soap and water if we had an ant infestation, and she'd put it along their trail, and they'd step in, it was sticky, and they hated it, and they left. And I remember when she brought home that poison spray. It was so much easier. And then we got TV dinners, and then we got a freezer so we could have frozen food that lost its nutritional value. And over the years, our health has been degraded gradually because our food has been degraded gradually, and now with genetically modified food, we're in trouble. There is very little nutrition and a lot of harm in genetically modified food, and by law, it's not required to be labeled, so we don't know when we're eating it. I read 2 reports on lab rats that exclusively genetically modified food. All of them developed organ failure, organ damage. Half of them were sterile. The other half that didn't die had strange aberrations like hair growing between their teeth and hair growing around their organs. And that's the food that's being presented around the world now. There are many countries who won't accept genetically modified food, but 90% of all soy products and all corn products are genetically modified. And when you look in food that has bags and boxes, soy and corn is in almost everything. So you are getting genetically modified foods, even not knowing it, plus all the other chemicals that are in bags or boxes. So shop the periphery of the supermarket. Try to afford organic food. If not, wash your food well, and don't eat grapes or apples because the poison goes right through the skin if you can't afford organic. And you can change your life. You can turn your health around. This isn't about doom and gloom. This is, you're in charge. You can turn it around and understand that obesity is because of toxicity. people think if I just stop eating and then they never lose the weight, it's because it's the quality of the food that they're eating. The body has no mechanism to store chemicals, so in its wisdom, to get it away from organs, it stores it in the fat. The more toxins you take in, the more fat you need to store it until finally you get so fat that it leaks out and now it's intoxicating organs and glands, and that's when you're in real trouble. So understand that there's a hidden enemy of obesity, and it's not the amount of food, it's the quality of food that you're eating.
Suzanne, the amount of information you've given us in a short time is very exciting, and I have to tell you, I look forward, and I think our audience ought to get online as soon as they can and get a copy of your book, Bombshell, Explosive Medical Secrets That Will Redefine Aging. Stunning conversation, and I look forward to your next book, because if I learned something from this, I can just imagine what else we are going to get from the next thing. And in fact, I just have to question you about that. What's in store for us so that we can continue this exploration of being healthy?
Well, my last several books have been a progression, taking my readers along slowly. First getting their hormones right, then giving them the 10 steps to wellness, then the different kinds of hormone replacement. These are all different books. Then the cancer book of how to not get it, and if you get it, how to treat it naturally, and then Bombshell takes us to another level. So my publisher knows that the information will come. There'll be something, some doctor, some scientist that I'll pick up the phone and call, and all of a sudden I'm off on a tangent. And that's what happened with this one. My first call was to MIT, to Ray Kurzweil, and that got me on this whole thing of, if the answer is out there in 15 years and the key to getting it is health, then how do we achieve true health? So I'm curious to know what the next book is, too. I just signed a new deal with my publisher, so there will be, and it will come. I know it will come. That's
great. How are you going to have fun in the next few months, or do we look into the future in a few years? What's fun for Suzanne Somers?
Well, I love staying at home more now than I used to. I have an organic vegetable garden that gives me a thrill, but I am starting a new television show called The Suzanne Show, which will be on Lifetime starting this fall. And we're doing an interesting kind of sponsorship, bringing in sponsors who are resonant with my message so that we can really do a program with doctors and scientists that are on the cutting edge of medicine. But also, I have famous friends, and I'm in show business, so I'm sure there'll be visits from Barry Manilow and Tom Ford and Chris Bodie and Kathy Griffin. And, I do have a lot of fun in my life. And health is my passion.
And Vitality is the name of the show, V for Vitality. I'm Susan Brender, and I've been interviewing one of the celebrities that's been around and everybody knows and is excited about, Suzanne Somers. We look forward to your show on Lifetime. Suzanne, thanks for taking the time.
I'll talk to you next year.
You're a doll. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
This show has been edited by Lisa Giles of IVR Productions, LLC.
Cool off with a delicious treat at FYI Frozen Yogurt and Ice Cream Shop in beautiful Delray Beach, Florida. FYI offers more than 20 flavors of ice cream, frozen yogurt, Italian gelato, sorbet, protein shakes, and more. FYI also caters birthday parties or any special occasion. Enjoy these wonderful treats in our cool, breezy, kid-friendly cafe. That looks good. Can Mommy have a taste?
They're mine.
Oh well. You can receive a free small cone of frozen yogurt or ice cream if you say the magic words, Susan sent you. Don't forget to pick up a coupon for $1 off your next purchase. They're located at 9 Northeast 2nd Avenue in Pineapple Grove, Delray Beach, Florida. They're open 7 days a week. For store hours or more information, call 561-450-7402. This commercial brought to you by FYI Frozen Yogurt and Ice Cream Shop and the Susan Brender Show. See you there.